After two pretty poor performances, very poor performances really, against Wolves and Spurs, Man United need to turn up against Forest on Saturday. We can talk about all the signings we need to make and everything else. We've got a game in 48 hours. Changes are needed. Will Rasmus Hojlund make the matchday squad? Who will replace Mason Mount in midfield? What other changes are needed? I'm going to run through absolutely everything in this video. My Forest preview, match prediction, starting 11 prediction, and all the questions and conversations around it. Because it's not all doom and gloom, all right? I'm not a doom monger here, but I tell you what, this team needs to buck up their ideas fast. Let's run through it, all right? And the first question that everybody's asking going into this game, will Rasmus Hojlund be fit? Now, we saw reports yesterday suggesting that he might make the matchday squad. Now we're seeing that Samuel Luckhurst in the Manchester Evening News saying his debut's not going to happen until after the international break. So he won't even be fit for the Arsenal game. We do not know what that situation is. And United find themselves in a delicate position now with a new signing that everyone wants to see that we can't rush back because we don't know how bad his injury is. A new player that we signed who's injured. It's a very United thing to do, isn't it? It really, really is. And on top of that, we've got Mason Mount. So our two outfield signings are both probably missing from this game. Maybe missing from this game. I'd love to see Hojlund off the bench if he's going to make it in there. I hope we see his debut. But who replaces Mason Mount in this team? Now, Erik Ten Hag wants a new midfield signing. Sure, yeah, great. That doesn't change anything for this game. In terms of team news, we know full well that Mason Mount is going to be missing. Anthony Martial's available, McTominay's available. Maguire missed the last game with illness, but even if he wasn't ill, Johnny Evans. I think we're going to sign a Johnny Evans contract. Maguire, if that's not a hint, I don't know what is. Malasia's missing. Kobbie Mainoo's missing. All the ones that you know about. It's just a question about whether or not this guy is fit to play, and I hope he makes the bench. But this here was the team that started against Spurs, right? The exact same 11 that started against Wolves. It's a very Erik Ten Hag thing to do, isn't it? He likes to trust his players to respond, but the players did not respond. In that first half, our attack created so many opportunities, and we could not score. It's almost like we need a new striker. Almost. I'm not sure if anyone's mentioned that before. But there were positives taken from that first half. There were pretty much none taken from that second half. Man United's midfield got overran for the second game in a row. Bruno and Mount, with the aggressive style that they're doing, left too much space in behind because we were overcommitting going forward and therefore exposed on the counter-attack. United is supposed to be the best transition team in the world. That's what Ten Hag's aiming for. We're getting undone the other way around. Now, changes. I wouldn't change much / anything in defence. Because I think if we look, again, you might say it's scraping the barrel, but I think Onana has played pretty well in these first two games. I think considering all the expectations that were on him, you could have been forgiven for him having a shaky, rough start at the beginning. I think Onana settled in pretty well and looks confident straight away. Of course, Onana's starting this game. Varane, I think you could argue that he might be our best performing player so far this season. I would probably say it's Wan-Bissaka, but again, I'm scraping the barrel here. I'm not taking up massive positives out of this. But I think defensively, these three players have been playing all right. And we're going against Forest at Old Trafford. Sure, they've had a mixed bag at the start of the season. What has been their start to the season? Nottingham Forest results. I should have pulled this up. Nottingham Forest results. Right. Yeah, there you go. Mixed bag. They beat Sheffield United, but they lost against Arsenal on the first day of the season. Very much, well, same as United, I suppose. We should be beating Forest at home. It shouldn't even be Anthony Elanga. Guarantee you he scores. But I'm not changing any of these three, and I'm not changing any of that back five. The whole back five stays exactly the same. All right? Martinez has looked a bit shaky so far. Out of all that back five, I think Martinez has been the shakiest. And that is not something I expected. But all of United, not all of United's problems, but the overwhelming majority of United's problems are in this area of the pitch. The rest of it, midfield and attack. And so far this season, Casemiro has been left isolated by Manchester United's aggressive pressing two number 8s in Mount and Bruno. Yes, they've not done him any favours in that sense, but by his own admission and standards, Casemiro's just not been at the races. It's not outrageous to admit it. It's kind of, if you're ignoring it, then you're ignoring it, but Casemiro is not up to scratch right now. His individual performances need to improve. Yes, Manchester United midfield needs to be tighter. The space between them needs to be smaller. They need to move collectively a bit more. And maybe not collectively as a unit. Who am I kidding? I keep saying that Casemiro finds himself too far up the pitch. Casemiro, dude, up your game. But on top of that is the midfield around him. And with Mason Mount being injured, I expect Erik ten Hag to actually switch a little bit this system. I think what we'll see is this. Mason Mount go to the bench there. Christian Eriksen come in. Casemiro come across. And Manchester United, I think for this game against Forest, I think we will switch to the more traditional formation. I say traditional. The formation that we used more last season, where we had two. Sorry, I didn't realise I didn't have it on the screen. Well, we have two central midfielders. So instead of having Casemiro on his own with two aggressive number 8s, I think we'll switch more to having Eriksen deep and alongside Casemiro. Should give us a little bit more control, streaming Casemiro is a little bit less isolated. These two games, United have got to try and navigate. Forest and Arsenal. You know, in the same way that last season, at the start of it, after 2 games, Erik ten Hag tweaked his tactics because it wasn't quite working. He wasn't stubborn with that. De Gea couldn't kick it out from the back with the ball, so we went a bit longer. We won 4 games on the spin. I think Ten Hag might tweak it in this game. We'll see Casemiro and Eriksen together. It could be McTominay, but I think he'll play Eriksen. And I think he'll play that a little bit deeper. And Bruno going back to being the sole number 10. More towards the shape we were playing last season. Will probably take a little bit away from us going forward, but should shore up that middle a bit. And we need that assurance in the middle because, I'll tell you what, going forward as well, this is where this guy comes in. I would love to see Hojlund on the bench against Arsenal. That's what I want to see. Hojlund on the bench and Hojlund making his debut. And we're getting contrasting reports. So we won't know this until tomorrow when Erik ten Hag speaks in his press conference. And even then, he might keep his cards close to his chest because he says what he wants to say to the media, not what they want him to say. I'd love to see that. But if not, all right, and let's take a look at what could happen if not. There has to be a change with Marcus Rashford. You might not be surprised to see what my change is going to be. Take him away from the number 9 position, please. I beg you. I'm actually begging. I'm sitting on a chair, but I'll be on 2 knees as well. Stop it. He doesn't like playing there. His body language doesn't like playing there. He doesn't know how to take a player on in that. He doesn't know how to press in that scenario. His muscle memory and his instincts are all being close to the byline and using that and using the space in those environments. It's a whole different ball game when you play central. It's like putting a left, or Luke Shaw managed it because that's fantastic from him playing left back to going left centre back. But it's different and it doesn't suit him. I want to see Rashford through the middle. No, sorry. I want to see Rashford on the left and I want to see this man through the middle. Jadon Sancho. This was the change that I wanted to see against Spurs. I had it down in my predicted 11. Erik ten Hag didn't do it. I thought that was a mistake. I don't want that mistake to be repeated. I know that there is a benefit, to some degree, well, if it works, I suppose, in trusting your players and sticking to your guns. Erik, please play Sancho through the middle. Please play Rashford on the left. Now, the one gun I think Ten Hag will stick to in this occasion is Antony. But Antony has got to improve the final bloody product, man. They all do. As we had 14 shots in the first half against Spurs, which is the most we've had in any Premier League away game, I think, in the first half since 2008. We were creating. Just nobody was finishing. And I think Garnacho drops to the bench. I think Rashford goes out on the left and Sancho goes through the middle. It's what we were doing a little bit in pre-season. Sancho impressed. Let him play in those half spaces. Let Bruno play those balls in behind for Jadon Sancho. Boom. He's got the pace to get onto them. He's shown that in pre-season. That's the change I would make. I think we're going to see Eriksen coming in midfield. That's Casemiro. I think Eriksen will come in midfield, and I want to see Sancho come in up front. They're the 2 changes that I would make with Garnacho dropping out, and of course Mason Mount, who is injured. Play that team there. I think we'll have a far more element of a control. I think United will win. My prediction, if we play that team there, is a 2-0. 2-0 to United. Play Rashford through the middle, and if Ten Hag plays the same 11 again, I'm not saying that we can't win, and maybe that performance would come. But it feels like it would be stubborn rather than making the changes I think that this team needs. Now, hopefully, this guy makes the bench and comes off, and we see Hojlund's debut for the last 25 minutes. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. But if we don't, that's the team I want to see there. I suppose it would be my starting 11 anyway, because I don't think Hojlund's going to start this game. You can let me know what you think in the comments below. It's not all doom and gloom, but I tell you what, it's 2 seasons in a row now. We've had really poor starts to the season, and with 7 days left in the window, we've got to sign players. That's not progress. Ten Hag, last season, in a worse environment than this, with a worse squad than this, we turned it around. I've got confidence he can do it again. And those little tweaks there are the tweaks that I would make. What tweaks would you make? You let me know in the comments. And as you said, if you enjoyed the video, please subscribe.